Throughout the past few decades or so, we've seen how independent endeavors can be an incredibly lucrative business. We've seen this a lot in art throughout a multitude of mediums, such as movies, TV shows, books, but one thing we've seen this especially in is video games. With the success of indie games, we've seen an influx of them, with a multitude of them becoming multi-million-dollar franchises, such as Five Nights at Freddy's, Minecraft, Undertale/Deltarune, etc., etc. However, there are many indie games that get stuck in development hell, or even worse, get cancelled. And in many cases, the studios behind them shut down as well. One prime, yet relatively unknown, example of this is Ryuken Multimedia, a short-lived indie studio and the focus of this iceberg. This iceberg is made by me and a select few members from the community. It goes into the studio, where projects it was planning on developing, the community, the staff, and much more. So, with that short introduction out the way, let's begin the iceberg, starting with the tip. Ryuken Multimedia. This entry relates to the studio itself. Ryuken Multimedia was an up-and-coming indie studio that was founded on October 25th, 2020. There are really heavy quotations around founded, but I'll get to this in the next entry. The studio intended to make multiple different projects, such as video games, movies, TV shows, and books. However, video games, movies, and TV shows were their primary focus. Originally, anime and manga were on the studio's radar, but this was dropped shortly after 2022 began. 10/25/2020. This relates to the last entry, but this is going to be a relatively short one. 10/25/2020 is what's recognized as Ryuken Multimedia's birthday. I put heavy quotations around this is the date that it was founded because of the fact that the Discord server for the studio was originally created about a month prior, but 10/25/2020 is recognized as the birthday due to the fact that this was the date that a lot of the members of the Discord were able to join due to the server being made public that day. Nothing too special here. Staff. At its prime, Ryuken Multimedia consisted of 17 staff members. Most of these consisted of voice actors and actresses who would reappear throughout the Hyperkin series, but I'm getting ahead of myself. I'll come back to that later. The faces of the studio were the founder/CEO and its co-founders, and they go in this order. The founder was me, yes, shocker, I know, Skystrike and Beat the Retro, who were the co-owners. I believe there was technically one more employee who was a voice actress for a character from Hyperkin, but she was never invited to the Discord server as I had forgotten to give her the link. So, technically, if we're going by the Discord server, she technically wouldn't count, but I'm going to count her here. So technically 18 people were part of the staff. Hyperkin. Hyperkin was set to be the mascot franchise of Ryuken Multimedia. Similar to how Sonic is Sega's mascot franchise, or for a more indie example, how Shantae is WayForward's mascot franchise. The series would have started with a trilogy of video games, starting with an open-world combat platformer for the first game, to transitioning to an open-world turn-based RPG for the second game, and then finally, for the third game, it would have been a stage-based platformer linked by small explorable zones. Following the trilogy, the series would have branched off into a VR game, I think a parkour game, I think a TV show, a movie, and then another movie from what I can remember, but I'm getting ahead of myself. That'll come later, maybe in another iceberg or later on in this iceberg, we'll see. Hyperkin 1. The Adventure Begins and Visions of the Lost. Tying back to the last entry, this would have been the first installment in the franchise, both video game-wise and release date-wise. The game's story synopsis goes as follows. Ai is a normal person. While trying to move into a new school, he crashes into Superstone, a country in the middle of the Bermuda Triangle. Superstone isn't considered a normal country by any means. As he gets used to the city during his stay, he learns the mystery of an object only known as the Soul House, with info about it being scarce. In an attempt to get back home, he must try and find the Soul House with help from his new friends Chungay and Frad. Meanwhile, in another universe, Allio gets into Ai's situation and has to use visions from God to his advantage when he makes it to Superstone to try and prevent himself from making the same mistakes as Ai. The game would have had a dual campaign style, thus the story synopsis, with one following Ai during 2014 and the other one following Allio during 2022. With the DLC being planned to release after the game's planned release on consoles. The original release date was 8/14/2022, which I'll get into that in another part of the iceberg. The main trio. This is the last one that ties back into the Hyperkin entry, but for both dimensions for Hyperkin that we would have delved into, it would have been a main trio. For Ai's dimension, it would have been Ai, Chungay, and Frad. And for Alliore's dimension, it would have been Alliore, Luciana, and Fern. Nothing too special here. If I ever make a Hyperkin Iceberg, I'll definitely make sure to dive into this more. Alliore is the mascot of RMM. This one's relatively self-explanatory. Alliore, after a little bit, was seen as the mascot of Ryuken Multimedia. It was originally going to be IE, but seeing as Alliore was going to be the main focus of the Hyperkin franchise, with his campaigns being about 7 days each, I think it's very clear to see that he would have had more of a spotlight than IE, thus making him kind of like the mascot for the studio. Social medias. This entry is relatively simple as well. Ryuken Multimedia had a multitude of social medias. This ranged from YouTube to Instagram to Twitter to GameJolt to itch.io, but the primary one was Discord. There were a few smaller things such as a channel for No Name Studio, the animation studio, which I'll delve into deeper into the Iceberg, and in present day, an archive channel for all things Ryuken Multimedia and Heavenly Den, which is something I'll also go into deeper into the Iceberg. Staff-only Discord server. When RMM was first established, there was a Discord server which served to be for both development things and community things. It was just like a generally broad Discord server. This was the first Discord server that was originally made a month prior to RMM's anniversary, and originally it served to be both for the developers, the crew members to get together and discuss the projects, but also for the community to hang out. Eventually, I thought it would be more professional for us to have a professional Discord server separated from the community Discord server, which is why we have the staff-only Discord server as an entry compared to the community Discord server, which is something I'll also go deeper into later on in the Iceberg. And that was the first tier of the Ryuken Multimedia Iceberg. It was a relatively simple, straightforward tier, I think. I think the deeper tiers, the next few tiers are going to be a lot more, I don't want to say complex, but they're going to have a lot more information on them. So some of these videos might be more lengthy compared to others. Like I know this one might be about 7 to 9 minutes in length compared to the other ones. I'll have to see whenever I start recording the audio and developing those. So that's basically it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video about a relatively unknown indie studio that I had a hand in, and I hope y'all are able to watch the next few installments in this. I hope y'all are interested in this, and if you are, just let me know in the comments below if you want me to see, or if you want to see me tackle another Iceberg, make another Iceberg series later on in the future. Just let me know. I know I was interested in making a Hyperkin Iceberg at some point, so if you're ever interested in that, just let me know. And since we're doing Ryuken Multimedia, I guess I could do a Heavenly Den one as well, which I'll get into later on in this Iceberg. So I'm just gonna teach you guys with that. But for now, that's it. That's it for this video. I'll see y'all in the next one.